Hello, welcome to David Eames On Your Mind, a conversation between friends about mental health issues. Hello, welcome to David Eames On Your Mind, a podcast about mental health issues and, well, God knows what. As usual, I'm joined by the beautiful Mikey and lovely Erin Oxley. Today I want to talk about honesty. Mikey, are you honest?
I honestly don't know. Most of the time, it's
Are
subjective.
you being honest when you say honestly don't know?
Honestly, I'm more so now as I've matured and got a bit older. But I suppose it's a bit subjective. You've said this to me before, but when your wife says, "Does my mum look big in this?" You can have a certain element of truth to it. Just say yes.
Just say yes. How are you
Just
still
be
alive?
honest.
You're going the wrong side of the honesty there, my friend.
But I've found that the more you give a truth, or the more you're pure and the more you are honest, it's a lot easier in life. Because I've had a period of my younger years, I don't know where it stemmed from, but I'd lie a lot. I'd lie about my age, I lied about films I'd watched and everything. And then the most uncomfortable conversations where your dad's over.
You get
and
caught
then
out.
You get caught out and they mention it. It's like, it's never seen that film. And you're just there in this tiny little corner going, what have I done? And you've got to go through it all. There's loads of lies that I lived by for such a long time. And for no reason. They just didn't help my cause or anything.
It's the old Fast Show sketch, though, isn't it? You know, when a fella sat in the pub with his missus, and he's going, so I fight these fellas, there was 10 of them, so I went for the big, and she went, no, he didn't. Lee Evans, not Fast Show. No, he didn't. And just instantly squashes his fucking, his ego bubble.
But even that, there's a bit of a purpose of making you look macho and strong. Mine was like, I'm a year older than I actually am, and I can live a story by it. But I had to remember a lot of things, and it's all consuming your life, isn't it? It's consuming your mind and your mental
It's an energy.
clarity.
It's all a currency. Energy is a currency, in my opinion. And I think with being honest, you're as rich as you can
I
be.
think some physicists might disagree with that.
Well, to me, I struggle because when you're trying to make something up or carry a lie on, the energy is you're using it for something that isn't necessarily a benefit.
So a different question for you, Erin. What is honesty?
So it's just being straight up. Just tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. Because, as you know, I've been married for a long time. And
Not really.
well, yeah, I know you've done the 45. I'm on 25. But 25 for me is not bad.
Yes.
Not bad. I mean, it's a good innings. But it's one of them where the trouble is with emotion, it affects people in so many different ways. Some people need to feel loved, and some people need to know that you're thinking about them, or however it works. Whereas I'm the type of person that says, if you need something, let me know. Tell me exactly what you want, and I would walk to the end of the earth for you. But there's been a lot of times that I've had in the past, and not just with my wife, with other people, where they go, I shouldn't have to ask. Or they'll say things like, they won't tell you what they actually want, and they won't be honest because they feel that you should want to do it, or you should feel like that's the right thing to do. And unfortunately, we've all got our own agenda. We've all got our own schedule. And I can be really busy with lots of stuff that no one knows about. So I'm not necessarily thinking about someone else's thing. And unfortunately, when that comes across, it can look like you're being ignorant or rude. But if you were honest to yourself, it's like, well, actually, I had my own thing first. And a lot of the times, I mean, I upset so many people just because I'm being really honest. And I'm not trying to attack them with honesty, but it's like when someone will try and say something or do something or ask you a question, and you'll give them an honest opinion. Like, for example, last time we recorded, I had to go to my daughter's school because we had a parents' evening. It was a subject that, it's not one of the big subjects. It was like health and social care or something like that. So I'm not downplaying it, but it wasn't like it was a big maths or English or whatever. And it was the last subject she chose, the last option. And the teacher sat down and said, all right, sweetheart, how's things? How are you finding it? And because we brought our kids up to be honest, she said, I don't really like it. She wasn't rude. She didn't call her a prick. She didn't swear at her. She didn't say it's shit. She didn't do anything bad. She just said, I don't really like it. And it was because of the way it was laid out and how she'd formatted the lesson. And this really, really hurt the teacher to the point where then she was quite passive-aggressive to her for the next 2 or 3 lessons when she'd call the kids into the room and she'd go, there's Millie, who doesn't like my lesson. And you're like, oh, man, this is a deeper, really deep issue that you've got as an insecurity, not necessarily the honest. But you ask the question. And to me, if you're asking a question, you either want the answer or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you get the answer that you didn't want to hear, it's about how you handle that, not necessarily about how I present it.
That's kind of where honesty breaks a bit of a social contract, isn't it? It's like in the hairdresser's chair, when he says, how do you like that? And you're looking at yourself looking like a surprised pineapple.
Yeah.
And you say, that's great.
Yeah, perfect, thanks. Yeah. And
you did today.
But sometimes it's
yeah, that's what brought it to my mind.
well, there you go. But it's where it doesn't affect anyone either way because they're being pleasant. You're exchanging pleasantries. It's like the amount of people that you'll pass. You go, all right, not bad of you. It's always not bad of you. Whatever your weasel words are, whatever your greetings are, you could have had the worst day of your life, or you could have won the lottery. But you'd always say, not bad of you.
Because how are you should also have don't tell me after it.
Yeah. How are you? Don't answer.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. Because essentially it's just an extension to a nod or a smile.
So honesty, again, it's a difficult term, isn't it? Again, it's individually what it means to us. Is that childish thing of never lying, or is it something more complex? Does it encompass integrity and authenticity?
I feel like it's good to have a bit of a moral compass with when you're being honest. So I've got friends that used to do that. I just say as it is. And their moral compass, they didn't really have one. So they would just offend and go out of their way to hurt people's feelings, I feel. But if you can, in my moral compass, in my world, if I can be as honest or as truthful, but still be aware of who's in front of me, what I'm saying, I do try and keep that PC culture about me maybe and be on the fence at certain situations. And it's building that conscious awareness up constantly, isn't it, of who am I with, what am I at, and what's the best outcome for this situation.
And also it might be how you say it.
Yes.
As Gary Cooper said once in a movie, when you say that, smile.
Yeah.
Because it's that you can be that brutal honesty, which is maybe more about a stick to beat people with, or there's the helpful honesty of, hey, this might be a better way of looking at things.
It probably is quite a simple answer in nature to it, though. Is it? Are you being nice, or are you being a dick?
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't seek to be nice necessarily, but seek not to be a dick.
Do you think so? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think sometimes not being a dick.
Don't be a dick.
You can't be nice either, because it's that quest to be nice sometimes means that we avoid necessary honesty.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to particularly be nice to this teacher.
No.
Because I didn't want to put her in. I didn't want to give her an inch.
Because you would not have been nice to your daughter then if you'd have been nice to
Precisely.
the teacher.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I didn't want to give her an inch. I wanted to make her feel as uncomfortable as she made Millie feel.
That's
just
true.
so that she was aware, because I had to be honest with myself if I was in that position. The main thing was I couldn't believe how she didn't react.
I was in the car yesterday, and there was a queue behind me, but I was letting an old lady cross, and I was in that sort of cognitive dissonance then of, am I being a dick to the people behind because she's being really, really, really slow, but I want to help her out. So it's kind of that acceptance. You can't be good by everybody at all times. They're going to be pissed off, or if I get in her way, she's going to be pissed off. So you've got to just do your best in that situation.
Yeah.
If I'm nice to everybody at every time, how am I going to fit both their needs behind me and in front of me?
It's almost like you've got to convince yourself that everyone's going to get the information eventually. So when the queue does finally move on and they see something, you're probably letting across. Or they might not.
Yeah,
but it's
an old lady,
What's the point?
Yeah.
Busy, I've got stuff to do.
Yeah.
But
Get her out of the way.
I think a lot of it is being honest to yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know...
Isn't that the hardest honesty in some ways?
Yeah, it really is. But like, if I came to your house and I had an awkward conversation with you or with Sue, it would be completely different. You'd get the same message eventually, but it's out of... I think with honesty comes respect and everything else, because if people don't matter or you don't care about them, that's when the attack comes, or you're trying to embarrass someone or trying to show them up, or you're just being rude. Whereas you can be respectfully honest. I'll never forget, someone once bought me a Christmas present, and they'd gone out and they bought me a Christmas present, and they gave me, it was an aftershave. And I think that's a really personal thing to buy someone, unless you know what their brand is or what they wear. And they'd bought me Paco Rabanne Million. It's like a gold bar.
I like it.
I had a real problem with it because I used to train jiu-jitsu with my brother, and he used to pour it all over himself. And so I've got a real bad recall from it, but it's just horrible. I can't stand it.
Conditioned reflex to it.
Yes, I really struggle with it, and it was an expensive thing. And I sort of took him to one side and I said, "Dude, I really appreciate this. It's such a lovely gesture, but I know you've got a massive family. I'm sure someone in your family would appreciate." I don't even want to take it home because it gives me acid reflux. I can't stand it. But I didn't say I can't stand it. I don't like it. Take it back. And before you know it, his entire family knew. And it was I used to work with. And then they're just ripping me constantly. Don't ever buy him a present. He's a prick. He doesn't appreciate a thing. And I was like, no, listen, it wasn't even. And you know when you've got someone that's doing the passive-aggressive sarcasm to tell you how they really feel, but then you know you're never going to get there. Oh, no, listen, this is actually a really genuine thing I did. And it just became this banter.
Yeah, would it be more polite to take it and then drop it in the bin as you leave the room?
Exactly. Exactly. But I still stand by what I did.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was 50 quid. Don't waste 50 quid on me. Or my colleague who he'd bought a pair of trainers for, why the fuck didn't you buy me a pair of trainers, you dickhead? Like, he's got a brand new pair of Nike Air Max that I would have loved.
Yeah.
And he asked him what he wanted.
He might have felt that you needed something to help with your smell.
Definitely not. And I can live with that. But I was honest, and I'm still, I mean, if I saw them people now and we mentioned presents, they'd bring it up again.
I think you should have thanked him and started using it.
No, not a chance. Not a chance. So it's a really difficult one to get right. But I think if you can always stick with what you've gone with, because there's nothing worse than a flip flopper. When someone's trying to be honest and then they hear another opinion, go, actually no, it's that. Oh no, my favourite colour is actually blue. Oh, yours is red. Oh, actually it's red. You think, and you never know where you are.
A thing for me at the minute is I'm trying to be more honest, and I'm in business now and trying to have real clear-cut conversations. This is where we're at, this is what I want, absolute. But because I struggle to have them difficult conversations sometimes where you have to be honest, I'm still in the avoidance process of a lot of it. I'm still, like today is a great example. There was probably about 6 or 7 years ago now when we did festivals on here. My philosophy at the time was I like substances and I like lots of people, and we used to have fun. And there was somebody that kind of wanted to do it more like a business, but in essence they were just using us for the space, and they wanted to showcase I could do a business and I could do events. I wasn't in the right mind frame then, but now they've seen my mind frame's changed. They've seen the success of this place, it's going well, and we're starting to do events again, or look to start events again, and now they've come back round. But I don't want them doing that thing, and I've got to have that conversation because they're coming to certain things they can pay as a punter to come to have them conversations. But I'll do 4 more travels round the roundabout so that I don't have to go home and then they've gone, and I'm avoiding that. And it's a ridiculous thing to do, but I think a lot of people, instead of having an honest conversation and getting it done with, they will actively try and not be there and do it.
Because you revealed the reasons for that earlier when you put being nice ahead of not being a dick.
Yeah.
And being nice is not possible, because that's down to someone else's perception anyway.
Yeah, and you're not being a dick by giving them the information before he plans something for 6 months, thinks it's all going to go ahead, gets here and you go, actually, awkward conversation, we're not doing it. And then he thinks, well, you are a
dick.
dick.
I think it's something we've touched on before, is that we don't control other people's feelings. We're not responsible for other people's feelings. We're only responsible for our own behaviour.
It's good advice, though, isn't it?
If someone doesn't like what we say, but we feel it needs to be said, that not liking belongs to them.
Sucks to be you. Yeah.
I like it. That's really, really helpful. I think there's a lot of people that would benefit from hearing that, though. It's a commonality I share with people that I have discussions with on, do you find it easier to just do that? But it always persists, and it's just the same.
You know, when you do have that conversation, do you ever feel better afterwards?
Always, yeah.
Right.
It's done that.
Why are we avoiding that?
Yeah.
If you feel infinitely better afterwards, but you always avoid feeling infinitely better. It's like when I was a kid, I hated taking tablets. I got scared. I couldn't swallow them. I was really scared taking tablets.
Same.
But they always worked. So then I'd be sat there thinking, well, I've been crying for 2 hours when I should have just taken them. And it's the same as this. It's ripping the Band-Aid. And it's not necessarily marching into like war, like you think that you're going to go and ruin someone's life. But you are prepared to have this conversation.
I think a lot of people do, they overcompensate then because they're
That's
ready.
it.
When they build themselves up, they're like, I'm going to tell them.
Yeah. Well, they're expecting resistance. So that because ultimately you're the facilitator of this person's needs, so they need you, but you're putting them in a different position, so that because you're then overly justifying why you can't or something, or you're just letting them know, you're already overthinking what is going to happen.
And you built a script up in your head.
Precisely.
It's way worse than probably what's happened.
Scripts never work.
Because you've done it and because you're ready for that, you feel like you have to live that out then in some aspect.
Yeah, well, this is it. And for me, that's why I would rather someone be 1,000,000% honest, because time is short. We don't need to waste each other's time, and we can do whatever we need to do. So I've always gone for if I can, rip the Band-Aid. Just meet it as head on as I can. Because you can only back yourself as much as evidence will show, or the points you can put across. So if you say, I want to do this, you go, unfortunately, we're not going to do that anymore. We can't do that now, or I don't want to do that. Because you don't need to lie to make it worse. Because what I do find as well is some people will try and be honest with you, and they go, oh no, well, we can't do that because we've not got a gazebo. And you go, oh no worries, I've got 4. Shall I carry on? They're like, well, we've actually not got a gazebo license. I've got one of them. Oh fuck. And we've not got an extension lead. It's like, no worries, I can bring my own. If they just say no, I don't want that, thanks, and you go, all right, well,
you had a birthday a few years ago, and you wanted to have a paintballing do to celebrate it, and oddly, I can't understand it, Owen's important to me. I wouldn't want to disappoint him, but I thought a paintballing do. I'm large and slow moving. I'm going to be the target for King Zeppelin.
Quite a good target as well.
I don't want to be that. So I just said,
10 years ago as well.
Thanks, but no thanks. It's not for me.
Yeah.
I didn't cry off with, oh, I'm ill on the day.
No.
And I didn't worry whether he'd be upset or not, because it was the right choice for me.
Yeah. But then we had
and I know that I love him, and it's not a do you down sort of decision to sort of not go.
But then we did an additional barbecue the day before we had paintballing, and David came and we had it was a different environment. It was a lovely birthday, but we did something else. But it wasn't because he'd gone, I'll let you know. Because it's always...
I just said straight out, no thanks.
No, I can't do that, dude. And I'm not a fool. I was like, well, I thought as much. But let's do something else. And I think it comes down to that. It doesn't have to be the most brutal, overly thought attack when you're trying to defend yourself or your opinion. Ultimately, you can decide and choose what you want to do. And often when the decision is made by great evidence that someone's either fucked you over or let you down in the past or taken advantage, they're the bits that I hold on to as the currency to go, hold on, we've walked this walk before. I know how this feels. I've been there. I know how the bad side feels. I'm going to stop this from happening in the first place. That's gold.
I think an important part, maybe with the self-honesty part of this, is you don't have to justify your choices to other people. You only have to justify them to yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're confident that you're making the right choices for yourself, then it's up to other people to decide that. Now, I'm not talking about just riding roughshod over everyone in a brutal fashion here, because your choices may well be informed about how that other person is going to react.
Yeah.
So if I knew that Owen was going to want to take his own life because I didn't go to be his Zeppelin, that I might have thought, well, I'll give it a go. Yeah, he can all shoot the hell out of me, but I know that he could handle it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you take all things into account. I'm not saying we don't take account of other people's feelings, but we're not responsible for them. It's a really key part. And the other thing is, neither are they responsible for our feelings, so other people can't make me feel anything.
Yeah. Is that when you said the other day about a toddler not getting an ice cream?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the necessary evil sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're still the bad guy.
Yeah.
You're still the arsehole.
Yeah.
But they can only have so many.
Yeah.
I've tried it.
Yeah.
They just pop.
Yeah, when I say no to my dog for another treat, I wish somebody could do that for me.
But it's true, and I think I don't know. I just find that it always comes out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
It always comes out, and it's so difficult because if you're not honest, it is the path to being let down so many times in different ways anyway. And it could be the smallest thing, or it could be the biggest thing. Like we spoke about friends in the past that didn't attend my wedding, but gave me 15 different excuses. When if they'd have just said, "Sorry, dude, something's come up," I could have put someone else in that place.
Yeah.
And then all the negative elements that came with that, as in having someone there we care about, me paying for their meal, their accommodation, all the rest of it, is taken away because we've managed to facilitate this. It's been taken up. It's been used. I hate waste, but I hate not knowing even more. And I think when people feel like they're saving you from this bad news or whatever, it's just sometimes better to take it head on.
I suppose it's as well, which comes down to most of these topics, it's really knowing yourself, because can you have an honest conversation with yourself if you don't know yourself?
Well, I guess probably not.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, again, it's you may be on a surface level of honesty, and again, this is very common, that we delude ourselves to what our real motivation is, or we tell ourselves that we can't help to do something that we maybe shouldn't be doing. We let ourselves off the hook. We apply different standards judging ourselves to those that we apply to other people. We're much more often forgiving about ourselves, but some people are the opposite way. They're much more punishing of themselves than they would be of other people. But that self-knowledge means that you maybe are being honest, but you don't know what honesty is.
Yeah, okay.
So there's no
Catch
sort
22.
What's the actual reality of it? Yeah. And I suppose to be able to be honest, then that self-knowledge, that quest for self-knowledge, is an essential component of that, of knowing why it is you don't want to do something. I do want to do something, and then you can then make informed choices. Yeah,
I think the more knowledge is power, obviously, as we know. But when we were both at Egg, there was a lot of the different behaviour things that people would study and feel that was the gospel to go from. When you're a red person or a blue person or a yellow person or a green person.
Yeah.
I fucking despised it because you're not just one. It depends on the circumstance. Yeah. And the other thing that was so heavily driven there was a shit sandwich. And I despise this shit sandwich thing because they go, well, we'll start off with a little bit of feedback. Could have done better with that. But lovely shoes today. Aren't they nice shoes? You shouldn't have told that customer to fuck off. What? What we're doing there is putting a positive between two pieces of shit. What? Or they put the shit in the middle, sorry. And or whatever, whichever way around it is. It just... When you can tell someone's doing that...
Yeah.
They're distracted by the fucking... theory than actually giving you the message.
Yeah.
And if you're intelligent enough, which most people will be, you'll be distracted by them struggling through this nonsense that they're trying to deliver. You're going, shit sandwich, is it? The shit goes in the middle. You put the shit on the outside. What are you doing?
Here it comes now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And realistically,
so contrite.
You just need to know. Was that all right? Yeah. No, well, don't. When you say this, don't do that bit. No problem. Crack on. We'll try again. Everyone's human. We all have a go. We've all got to learn.
And if you're dealing with someone who has a degree of self-honesty, it's this has gone wrong. Give yourself a bollocking.
Yes,
because they'll do it for themselves. It's when I started working for Jen at Egg. I wanted to make a new impression, a good impression with a new person I was working with. We started off with a 2-hour argument about a technical issue because I wouldn't give in. Because I was right, and it was one of those binary things that it wasn't a matter of opinion. There was a right or wrong answer, and I knew I was in the right about it. And there's another guy, Paul, who was with us, who was just cringing to death all through this. He just wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. Wasn't being aggressive, but just would not back down. And in the end, I kind of won the argument, but then Jen became a really good friend and respected my opinion ever after, because she knew she was never going to get bullshit. I was never going to say yes because she wanted me to say yes.
You being honest with yourself.
Yeah. So I think in the end, honesty pays off there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes it's, okay, I might be in the wrong, but when when it is something that's concrete, you've got to stand up for it. Or if it's a concrete moral issue, the honesty to be able to stand up for that, no matter what the consequences, I think is really important. That's where honesty becomes more about integrity and authenticity.
Yeah, well, I was talking to you last week. I had a really, really, really bizarre experience at a previous workplace. And it was, I was asked to photograph someone, and she was, I can't remember, she was off the TV, but she was about 25. And she'd got into modelling and topless modelling. And it just so happened that a person I knew had got in touch with her and said, we can manage you. As in, build your website, we'll make you merchandise, all this other stuff. And then they just essentially pigeonholed me into go, you're going to be the photographer. And I went, oh, no. And they went, pardon? And instead of just going, all right, fair enough, I get it, because it's a moral decision, you're a married man, that's not something that, I'm not saying that married men can't take pictures of nude women, but it wasn't something I felt comfortable doing. Don't want to do that. And it wasn't accepted. So instead of them understanding that, they went with the, like, not even a banter attack, like a, oh, all right, you pussy. Oh, you're a bit scared. Oh, what's going on? And for me, it would have been if you could be weaker and you could buckle under that, because it's not a nice thing when everyone around you is giving you this sort of real harsh vibes. But the thing that made me smile was when I said, oh, why doesn't your son do it? He's not married. And oh, no way. Not my son. No way, he wouldn't do that. I was like, oh, that's weird, isn't it? It's weird how your son would never do that. It's the worst thing ever. But I could do it, even though I'm married with kids. Like, where the fuck? What are you doing? Because I was pleased that I could be honest with myself. Such an insane circumstance, but at the same time, I felt good that I could. And then they didn't ever ask me again. There was never a circumstance that came up like that, or there wasn't any dodgy elements. They were like, oh, well, we'll just get him to do it because he will.
Because you can behave like a non-Newtonian fluid. You can run across custard.
Yeah.
The harder you hit it, the harder it is. If you hit it slowly, you push through it. And knowing the more you push, the harder it gets.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm a bit that way myself.
Yeah, you know that firsthand. But yeah, I think it's kind of best if you. We're all right.
Just loud little dogs, aren't they? Little yappers.
I can't fault them, mate.
Yeah.
They're the best thing in the world. They're the best thing on the planet, and that's honesty. They are the very best invention ever made.
I never thought I'd got a yapping dog. Ever get a yapping dog? I've got a yapping dog.
No.
He's the best little dude ever.
Yeah.
But
mine's not a yapper. No.
No, but also equally beautiful.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the dog appreciation bit done. So I think
See, dogs are honest.
but this is it. They fucking are. And the thing is, take my wife for example. I've got 3 dogs. The youngest is Ernie, cockapoo. He's definitely on a spectrum. He's a fucking mentalist. he's so far gone, whichever angle it is. He does not want anything to do with her, and because of that, he doesn't excuse himself. He just doesn't want to talk to her. He doesn't want to sit with her. Doesn't want anything to do with her until she's eating. But all she wants is his attention, and he's being brutally honest by saying, "I'm going to sit on this settee. You sit over there," and she'll go and fuss him, and he'll growl and grumble, and all she's doing is going, "Oh, you love me, don't you? Oh, you really want me?" And he's like, "No, I really don't." And the problem is, he's being honest. Yeah. It doesn't fit the world you want to be in.
He didn't like me at all when I first met him, but because I ignored him, he's kind of moved my way.
Yeah, he comes over, he's like,
one of those
"Why
guys.
do you not want to talk?" I think it was your silhouette that scared him at first. He was like, "But."
It's gone dark.
Yeah, it's gone dark in the kitchen. But that's it. The more you ignore him, he's then like, "Why are you ignoring me?" And you go, "Well, I don't want to talk to you." He's like, "No, tell me." And that's where he's a bit like a toddler. But they are honest. They are honest. They want something or they don't want something, and that's it. That easy.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
And so that's another thing about, as well as telling people what we don't want, maybe tell them what we do want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, we fall quite often in relationships is that, well, if they love me, they'd know.
This is what I was saying.
and maybe they don't know.
I shouldn't have to ask.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
That is the biggest brain fucker for me because
Yeah.
I've got too much going on to assume. I just need 5% help. Just say, I'd really like you to get the milk on the way home from work. No problem.
Yeah.
And again, it probably is a little bit down to that self-knowledge, because if you don't know what you want but you don't like that, that's all you're putting across, isn't it? You're just like, well, don't do that, but I don't know what to replace it with.
So, okay, so we say honesty is important then. Is it okay to be dishonest sometimes?
Oh, good question, David.
I suppose so.
Yeah,
I
it
suppose
helps.
so.
It helps in certain situations. Again, it's down to knowing yourself, knowing the situation, and for me, working out if this is going to really hurt somebody's feelings, even if you're trying to beat around the bush with it and step on eggshells, probably don't tread that territory if it's just going to hurt somebody that you care about ultimately too.
Well, maybe not just about. What about people you don't
Yeah,
particularly care about?
yeah.
What about politics, office politics? You know, if you should read Sun Tzu if ever you're involved in politics. Because if you think, I don't want to play politics at work, well, then you're losing, because politics is everywhere,
Yeah.
and you've got to play the game to win it. And sometimes it's about, that allies are better than enemies. And if somebody is your enemy, then they should not know your enemy until your knife slides between their ribs. That may be a bit immoral.
Yeah.
No,
Too
it's-
far.
Yeah.
Back it, knocked it down one peg.
But that's an extreme example there.
Fist
Show 'em
on the
knife.
nose.
Just show 'em the knife.
Yeah. And I'm learning
Sometimes from a
that
business point of view, for
Yeah.
instance, if you're in business,
again.
you can't be honest.
Yeah. I would you agree with that? Because I do.
Yeah. And
You try to be,
yeah.
but sometimes the truth is...
When the boat's already rocking, I don't know how much better it's going to be when you capsize the fucking thing.
Bit closer to them.
When the boat's rocking,
That's
it may not
like
be,
butter.
may be much better to capsize it. And yeah, I think...
Winston Churchill, he said the truth is so important it needs to have a bodyguard of lies.
Yes, which is perfect. Because I mean, like I've already said, honesty is perfect, and it's so key for me and so important. But there are certain things where it's just not worth. It's almost being passive by not engaging, or by, so you're not necessarily being dishonest, or if you are, it's just more a case to get around something, because it's not worth. Like your 2-hour argument with Jen was important because you had factual elements that were to say, if we go down that route, you fucking idiot, we're going to end with this.
Yeah.
Whereas realistically, we needed it to be right. Then it's, the passive side of things, I think sometimes just to extinguish something is important.
I think what I'm driving at here is that a more mature view of morality is to view it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, context is key.
So not to be guided by rules, but rather to be guided by principles.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that being honest with yourself about whether you're being true to your own principles.
Yeah. Take it in the situation, in the context at the time, and who's in front of you.
Yeah.
Instead of, this is my moral rule book to life, and I have to stay rigid and cemented to this is the way of doing.
Yeah, then you get trapped in what's called masturbation.
Yeah.
Things that must
Yeah.
be done. I must never be dishonest. I must
Oh,
never
really?
lie to anyone.
Do you know when you meet somebody that's kind of like a Puritan or a stickler, a stickler,
Yeah.
but so they have to do it in that way. Even though I've seen somebody pleading with somebody, it wasn't my ticket or anything, and maybe they just should have parked in the right place. But my humanity comes out in those situations where you see a mum and a kid and been 5 minutes over time or whatever it is, and you just think, if it was me, I would have gone, listen, but maybe I'd be a really bad parking attendant and you don't want me doing that job. But there's just situations I've seen, I can't think back to too many, but that was one I literally was involved in and I saw happening in front of me, where she was really distraught, she was clearly struggling, and I just thought, just let your humanity come out in this situation. And
Or maybe she was just good at playing traffic.
yeah, there's always that.
Is it?
You maybe need some of those people in those positions, but there are jobs worth out there. There are people that can't see anything else.
Fucking everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been stopped by the police, not for many years, but on 2 or 3 occasions, and speeding through a radar trap, and never been prosecuted.
Really?
Because immediately, oh, I'm so sorry, officer. Yeah.
Mm.
Rather than, haven't you got something better to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. You can go in with the wrong angle.
You can't do it now because it's all automated.
I'd say
back
times
in the day
have changed quite a bit.
Back in the day when it was a choice.
Yeah.
And but what I'm saying is then it's that taking that mature view, if you like.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap things up there. A couple of quotes from history on the old temple to Apollo at Delphi. It said, "Know yourself." And there's a line from Shakespeare which is, "Above all, to your own self be true." Thank you. Goodbye.